and head. And she will also debunk common myths about hypnosis along with the live demonstrations of its techniques. So let's welcome Sonia on stage.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with mental health advocates, practitioners, and so many of my students too. How many of you in the audience has ever been hypnotized? Quite a few of you. How many of you have never been hypnotized and perhaps are a little bit nervous about the whole concept of it? Okay, some of you. And I'm here to tell you that whether you know it or not, you have all been hypnotized, and we are in a hypnotic state every single day. We're in and out of those states, and that is what I will be explaining today. So I have been in this field for almost 20 years, and I have been teaching hypnotherapy since 2010. And when I first used to tell people that I'm a hypnotherapist, they would have their misconceptions and think that my practice involves having people act like a monkey or a chicken or quack like a duck. Yeah. Thankfully, that's not so much anymore, though I still did go to a networking event just last week, and when I said that I'm a hypnotherapist, I was met with, "So I shouldn't look into your eyes then." So that's why debunking it is something that I think is great for us to do, so we can recognize what hypnotherapy can do for us. I'm going to make it really simple. We're going to look at the what, why, and how. So what is hypnotherapy? Why do it? Why is it effective at all? And how it works. And to learn, the best way to learn is actually to apply. So I'm going to invite you all to please stand up. Okay. And if you can stand up and just place your arm out like this. Okay. And I'm going to invite you to twist, to do a spinal twist and see how far back you can go, and make a mental note of where your hand reaches the wall behind you, like this. Okay. So just look at how far you can go and where your hand reaches the wall behind you. And when you've made a mental note of that, you can come back and place your hand down. And now just take a deep breath. Yes. And without doing anything, I'd like you now to mentally close your eyes and imagine that your arm is reaching out now and going 20% further than what you just did. 20% further. You don't have to do it, this is a mental rehearsal. And where that would be and what that spot on the wall would look like. And then, with your next breath, think about what it would be like if you went 50% further than what you just did. And where your arm would reach. Make a mental note of that. And then just for fun, let's think about if you could go all the way around and come right back to the front, and how fun that would be. And what that would look like and what that would feel like. And now that you've got that in your mind, physically, let's do it one more time, okay? Put the same hand up, twist around, and see how far you go now. And let's check. Whose hand went further? Brilliant. Let's sit back down. You've all been hypnotized. So this is basically your mind giving a suggestion to the body, your body receiving that suggestion, and your body responding to that suggestion. It is as simple as that. You know, when we think about changes, as a therapist, I get people coming to me all the time because they want to change something, right? And they want to change their behavior. They want to stop shaking when they speak in public. They want to stop biting their nails. They want to stop fearing going on an airplane. So they want to shift their behavior. But just telling yourself not to do something or do something different is not enough. This is why universally, New Year's resolutions for 80% of the people fail every February. Yeah? Because we tell ourselves, don't eat, okay? Don't binge eat, don't smoke, don't bite your nails, or exercise more, and we're just talking about the behavior. We're not understanding why we do it in the first place. Why do you binge eat in the first place? Let's say you do that at midnight every day because you're lonely. And now you're telling yourself, don't binge eat. So what are you going to do when you're lonely at midnight? Are we going to now create another habit? Are we going to smoke instead? Or trying to pretend that it's really good and do some exercise? But it could become another addiction because it's coming from the same void. So our beliefs are actually governed, our behavior is governed by our beliefs, our thoughts and our perceptions. So instead of focusing on shifting behavior, if we can focus on what thought creates that behavior, what belief system creates that behavior, and adjust that belief system, then you don't need to change your behavior because that's a response. Your behavior and your physical body is generally a response to your mindset. And that's why I believe that a healthy mind can get you anywhere. And just some fun facts about hypnotherapy to give it credibility. I have a belief that things are useful. So healing is useful, psychotherapy is useful, behavioral therapy is useful, everything has a place. But I like the fact that the American Health Magazine actually did a study on the usefulness of different types of modalities on changing a habit. So this was about nail biting and binge eating and a persistent habit. And they found that with hypnotherapy there was 93% recovery after 6 sessions, which was extremely effective. Okay, so now there's more and more awareness of what hypnotherapy can do, and it's basically about adjusting your wiring in the subconscious mind. Okay, so if somebody is scared to speak in public and you say to them, no, it's okay, you're confident, does that change them? Not really. Okay? If somebody wants to smoke and you tell them, no, you don't want to smoke, that doesn't change them. What changes them is something a little bit deeper. And that happens when we are wanting and willing to do something. And secondly, when we're bypassing our critical filter of judgment. So I'll tell you what hypnotherapy is very briefly. Hypnosis is a state of focused awareness that is bypassing the critical faculty of your mind. Whenever you are focusing on anything with intent, you are in a hypnotic state, even when you're in pain. Think about a time where a part of your body was in pain, right? You had a knee ache, you had a shoulder ache, and you were focusing on that pain. And at that point, it didn't matter so much that your spouse was half an hour late for dinner, because your pain was more important. So your filter of judgment changed, because you were focusing on something else. Anytime you are focused on something, and that focus takes over your critical faculty, you are in a hypnotic state, and at that time, you are extra suggestible to anything that you are hearing. So if you are in a trance state, and someone gives you a suggestion and tells you, oh, you are a confident public speaker, or you do enjoy eating healthy food, or you feel comfortable and relaxed every time you're on an airplane, you will take that in because you are in a relaxed state. And your defensiveness and your judgmental filters are not going to say, no, I'm not. I'm scared of authority. I'm scared of planes. I'm scared of judgment. Because you're relaxed enough to take in a suggestion. So I'm going to give you a little model of the mind. Almost like a mind manual. Every time we get a mobile phone, we normally get manuals that come with a mobile phone. Unfortunately, we never got a manual to understand our mind. So I'm going to give you a little model that can help us to understand what our mind is. So our mind, first of all, is not tangible. Okay? You can touch your brain, you can't touch your thoughts. Okay? It's energetic, it's intangible. It's like a software. So we call the software just like a ball of energy. You can imagine it to be like a ball of energy. There are 2 parts to the mind that we know of. And we call this quite often the conscious and the subconscious mind. A lot of researchers are still debating just what percent the conscious and the subconscious is. So round about, the conscious would be about 10%, the subconscious is about 90%, and it's 6,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. Yet the part of the mind that we use to think, analyze, rationalize, decide, make decisions is your conscious mind. The subconscious mind is keeping you alive. So your subconscious mind is what is in charge of regulating the oxygen that's in your lungs right now and how much blood is in your veins right now. That is happening by the subconscious mind. It really only has one job, and that job is to make sure you're alive. Unfortunately, not to make sure that you're happy necessarily. So you can be in an abusive relationship, you could be in a toxic environment, but as long as it's not threatening death, the subconscious mind says, hey, this is familiar. I know that I can cope with this. I can become numb to this. And then you'll continue being in that environment because the subconscious mind says, hey, I can survive. So the subconscious mind has your survival instinct. It's also a giant database. And what does a database do? It collects data. It collects information. What information does that collect? All of your life experiences. Right from the moment of conception to this moment sitting on this chair, every experience that you've ever had is in your subconscious mind. And every experience is subjective. So each of you sitting here in the same conference will have a different experience of whatever is happening here because it depends on your interpretation of it. So some of you may interpret this as very, very useful. Some of you may think, oh, I've heard this before. That's your experience. And the subconscious mind, through those experiences, also contains our belief systems. And we create beliefs really easily. You know, whenever you make the same interpretation 3 times, you have a belief. And some beliefs are supportive, and some are limiting and sabotaging. So let's say you're 3 years old, and you wake up and nobody's around you. And your interpretation is, I'm left alone. I'm abandoned. Now, if you make the same interpretation 3 times, now your belief system would be, I'm the abandoned person. Your identity will be, I'm the abandoned person. And that goes into your filter of judgment. That's the critical faculty. The critical faculty sits between the conscious and subconscious mind, and it's formed between the age of 0 and 8, where we cultivate our identity. We decide, I'm confident, I'm not confident. As Stephanie was sharing earlier, I have a nice, beautiful body, I don't have a nice, beautiful body. You create these belief systems very, very early on. And that is how we see the world. So let's say that one of your belief systems is, I cannot trust. Because we're young and we view the world in a way where we're constantly questioning, am I safe? Am I loved? And when we are babies, we tend to be egocentric. That means we make everything about us. Because when you're a child, you actually don't know anything else. You don't know anything other than yourself. So you will make things about you. Mom and dad are fighting. Is it about me? My brother is playing with someone else. Is that about me? And we tend to lose grip of what I would say is the 4 greatest truths. And the 4 greatest truths, which is amazing for self-esteem, but we tend to break away from that is, I am loved, I am safe, I am enough, and I belong. Right? We probably are in touch with that when we are conceived. After that, we lose touch with it, and then that goes into our filter of judgment, and then we think things like, I cannot trust. And now let's say you are looking for somebody on your team, or you're looking for a romantic relationship, and someone really eligible is right there. But you have a belief that I cannot trust. So in your filter of judgment, you will delete, distort, and generalize reality. You're not even going to see this person. Everyone else might have seen him, you don't see him. Or he looks like all of your ex-boyfriends, okay? Or your ex-colleagues and teammates. And then you generalize that, oh yeah, nobody's trustworthy. And in your subconscious mind, there's a very different picture. So you're seeing something that looks like your father, or looks like the first person that hurt you, and that dictates your behavior, right? And where does all of this come from? Your perceptive filter. What hypnosis does is it bypasses that filter of judgment. Because you're not even going to be able to resolve your issue if you keep thinking, I cannot trust, I cannot trust, I cannot trust. So in order for you to begin trusting, we need to go past that filter of I cannot trust. when you are in a trance, we can bypass that filter, we can plant a different suggestion, and we can move through that belief system that actually doesn't work for you. Okay? That is what we do and why we do it with hypnotherapy. And as I said earlier, we are in a hypnotic state a lot of the time. Has anyone ever been to the movies? Okay. That is pure hypnosis. So a trance is enhanced focus and suspending disbelief. Now every time you are in a movie, you are focusing on the screen. You're focusing on the actors. If your conscious mind was the only one that was working, the entire time you're watching a movie, you would only be thinking, this is an actor, this is not real. Okay? This is not Sarah, this is actually Gwyneth Paltrow. It's not real. And you would be sitting there as if you were the director of the movie. But we're not. We watch the movie. And when they want us to be surprised, we're surprised. When they want us to cry, we get emotional. And at that point, we are suspending that disbelief and we're getting into that story. So that's a hypnotic state. It's a very, very natural state. We are in that trance state every day, whenever there is an enhanced focus, and just before you go to sleep, and just before you wake up. Here's the brainwaves. So when we are alert and awake, we have an alpha brainwave. Okay? Sorry, when we're alert and awake, we have the beta brainwave here, receiving sensory information. When we're in a mild hypnotic state, it goes up into alpha. When we are in a deeper hypnotic state, it goes into theta. And when we sleep, we are in delta. And we are in this state several times a day. If you think about waking up in the morning, we don't open our eyes and jump out of bed. We open our eyes and it takes us time to integrate. We might roll to the side and then we get out of bed. And what we're doing is we're integrating back into the beta brainwave. So we get into alpha and theta several times a day. And that's the state that we're in when we're putting somebody into a hypnotic trance. So let's talk about belief systems and thoughts a little bit. How many thoughts do you think we have a day? In our waking hours? Any guesses? How many thoughts a day? Hundreds, thousands? Thousands? 10,000? About 60,000, okay? 60,000 per day in your waking hours, around 3,500 per hour. Looking at the quality of these thoughts, 98% of these thoughts are the same as yesterday, okay? So we don't change too much. And 80% of that is what we don't want. So you're basically hypnotizing yourself all the time on what you don't want. And so we're hypnotizing ourselves daily because in our mind, we tend to think in negatives. However, your mind cannot process that. That's like me telling you, not a red sofa, not a pink polar bear, and not a blue elephant. You can't process that without thinking about it. So if you're thinking about what you don't want, like not the anxiety, I don't want to tremble when I'm on the plane, okay? I don't want to fail, you're kind of hypnotizing yourself to do that. Because whatever you avoid, you energize. It takes energy to avoid. So let's take a look at public speaking, which happens to be, according to Google, one of the biggest fears in the world, okay? More than death. So people would rather die than speak in public. And so you have this thought of speaking in public, and the mind goes, no, 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 I don't want that. I don't want the audience to be bored. I don't want them to judge me. And then you end up behaving the same way because you energize what you don't want. And so the easiest thing to do is to imagine what you do want and do that as a repetition every day. Because the language of the subconscious mind is visuals. If you can visualize something you want, you are actually hypnotizing yourself and you're creating that. And if you do that every night in repetition, it is much more likely for that to happen for you. You can't visualize a good life because good is not very descriptive. You can't visualize being a good wife or worker or husband. Make it more specific and visualize exactly what you do want. Many times we think we know what we want, but the mind is not able to visualize it at all. And hence we're not really manifesting it. I'll give you a few more misconceptions, and then I'm going to give you a little taster of a trance state. So, it is an issue in Hong Kong, and people do come to hypnotherapists as well as other therapists because Hong Kong workers suffer depression and anxiety. 1 in 4 workers, that's 2.5 times the global average. Yet, there is still some misconceptions about coming to professionals, especially hypnotherapists. The first one is that it's mind control. Now let me tell you, I do not know how to control your mind. Okay? And hypnotherapy only works with willingness and permission. So this is not something where you can resist and I'm going to put you into that hypnotic state anyway. This is not Las Vegas and it's not a stage show. They do something different, and when you're coming to a therapist, we're taking you into a state that is very similar to meditation. And you are placing yourself in that state, not me. You are the one that is focusing on something, not me. You're the one that's receiving the suggestion. So actually it's an inside job and you're doing it, not the therapist. The other misconception, I don't need to be fixed. That's true, you don't. Because you are 100% successful in whatever you believe. You believe you're a failure, you're 100% successful at that. You believe that you can't do something, you are successful at that. It's just that we're giving you something that is different to think about. So if you believe that planes are scary, you're successful at believing that planes are scary and becoming scared about it. It's not about fixing and it's not about judging. It's about giving you something different to think about to make your life work if that is what you do want. And finally, the stigma. And a few of the previous speakers have spoken about this, and Stephanie spoke about this. It's about normalizing. Normalizing the fact that we can and do have issues. Yeah? Our machinery isn't perfect. And I would love for more and more people in Hong Kong to treat going to a mental health practitioner the same way that we go to a dentist or we go to a doctor. Yeah? There's something up with our body, we go to the doctor. Well, there's something up with our wiring. Why not go to a therapist? So there's a trigger and a response. That's what I call wiring. The trigger could be a plane, the response is fear. The trigger could be a swimming pool, the response again could be fear. Right? The trigger is your mother-in-law, father-in-law, the response could be anger. So there is a triggered response. So if you're wired one way and it's not comfortable, why not do something to wire yourself another way? And thankfully now, the associations and the medical associations are recognizing hypnotherapy as a great way to treat. I'm going to give you another little equation that I have come up with to make it easy. So hypnosis is getting into a hypnotic state. Hypnotherapy is getting into a hypnotic state to make a change, to overcome a fear, to change a pattern, to feel different about yourself, to start trusting when you're not trusting. Although I have to say, I don't believe in polarities. So if somebody has an issue of, I can't trust anyone, is the aim now to trust everyone? No, it's not. That will give them a whole other plethora of issues. Okay? So it's not going from I trust no one to I trust everyone. It's about having discernment and knowing when to trust. Because anytime we are associating ourselves with always and never, we're not present. Because you've already decided that I'm always going to trust or I'm never going to trust. Who decided that? Maybe your 5-year-old self decided that when your house got burgled. So your 45-year-old self is still responding to that. And you're not having discernment in the moment. So what we do is therapy. And therapy involves catharsis plus wisdom. And if anybody has heard of the word catharsis, catharsis means releasing. It's the physical release of emotional toxicity. And that's why things like dance therapy and trauma release therapy is now becoming so popular, because our body holds physical cellular memories of trauma. And if you just place wisdom on top of that, it's not enough. So if you're holding trauma of feeling neglected by your dad because he didn't come home, and for 2 years he was working until midnight, and someone says to you, well, he did that because he loves you. He did that for the family. That's not enough, because you're still holding your anger and your helplessness and your sadness, and what about all of that? Wisdom is possible and can be fully imbibed after you validate your emotions, you process your emotions, and then there is space for wisdom. And the wisdom that we bring people to is just how to be at peace. How to be at peace with a given situation. And what will bring you peace is understanding that what happened was either not about me, or seeing that actually I was loved and supported, but I didn't see it at the time. So dad did love and support me, but I didn't see it at the time. Or he did what he did and it wasn't about me. Either way, you're neutral. And that neutrality brings peace. And I love neutral. It's a great state to be in. So there are different approaches to hypnotherapy. One can be just becoming mindful to the sounds other than my voice right now, becoming mindful to the feeling of your clothes against your skin. And that just helps you to become present. And sometimes it's a suggestive approach where I can take you into a trance and I can keep suggesting that you are now a comfortable public speaker, or you feel relaxed every time you go on a plane. Or we do it for therapy, where we actually take you back to the time that you created a negative belief, the time that mom and dad were fighting and you got so scared and you thought this is about me. And we then can do catharsis to release that and shift interpretations. And with that, we have been able to do many, many things with hypnotherapy. So release fears, phobias, physical pains, aches, ailments, because we bypass the defensiveness that people have and we actually rewire you from the subconscious mind. So I hope that that has given us some insight as to how hypnotherapy works. And as I said, I'd like to give you a little bit of a taster. So I'm going to invite you in my next slide to look at the center of the slide, and I'm going to guide you to go into a mini trance. And I'd like you to think of something in your life that you would like to shift. Okay? It might be a problem, it might be a question or a challenge that you have right now. So think about something in your life that is challenging for you. Got that? Everyone okay? All right, so you can do this sitting down, just be very relaxed. Please look at the center of this. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to open and close your eyes. So looking at the center of that, can you imagine the number 5? And close your eyes and let the number 5 move into the background and feel your body beginning to relax. And then open your eyes again, looking at the spot with the number 4. And as you visualize the number 4, close your eyes, let it digest, and allow your body to relax even further. And some people feel relaxation by feeling light, and some people feel heavier. Notice which one it is for you. Opening your eyes once again and staring at that spot for 3. Imagine the number 3. Closing your eyes, let it fade into the background. Feel your body relaxing even more. Feeling that wave of relaxation, opening your eyes once again for 2. Seeing that number 2 very clearly. And as you close your eyes, number 2 moves into the background. And your body may feel even more relaxed. Opening your eyes and looking at number 1. Seeing number 1 and noticing the difference in your body. And as you close your eyes, allow number 1 to fade into the background. And finally opening your eyes into the same spot and imagining the number 0. And looking at that number 0, noticing how you feel in your body. As you close your eyes, let that number fade into the background and keeping your eyes closed. Notice that your eyes are closed. Feel your physical body beginning to relax. Allow your mind to become a little bit calm. And allow yourself to go deeper and deeper into a comfortable space within your own heart. And as I count you down from 5 to 0, with each count, allow yourself to go 10 times deeper. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The deeper you go, the more you relax. And the more you relax, the deeper you go. Notice the relaxation in your body and feeling more comfortable and relaxed now. Imagine that you are on top of a special staircase. It has 10 steps going down. It's safe and it's comfortable, and it's designed to take you deeper into your subconscious mind. And in a moment, when I count you down from 10 to 0, imagine yourself walking down with your left foot first, each step taking you another 10 times deeper. Beginning to walk down now at 10, further down at 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And in this deep and relaxed place, just imagine yourself in a safe space. This could be a place in nature or a room, anywhere that's on the ground, where you feel very safe, relaxed, and very comfortable. And in this safe space, think about the challenge that you were just thinking before this exercise. Think about that challenge. And now imagine that your awareness is dropping into your gut. And you can just place your head down and feel as if you're breathing into your gut. And ask yourself, what needs to happen in order for me to be at peace with this situation? What needs to happen in order for me to be at peace? What needs to happen in order for me to be at peace? Imagine that. Imagine your subconscious mind giving you that solution. And not only giving you that solution, visualize that solution happen. Visualize yourself at peace. Visualize yourself having moved through that challenge. Coming out the other end, you are at peace. You've done it. And as you visualize that, breathe into the body of that future version of you. Breathe into the body of that part of you that has already moved through this challenge. Feel it. Notice how you feel in your body. Notice your posture. Notice what's different in your thoughts. Notice your inner voice. Are you hearing something different? Notice what life is like. And what emotion goes best with that? Could it be neutral, light, easy, happy, trusting? What feeling in the body goes best with that? Could it be solid, grounding, again light, tingling? Just make a mental note of it. And if there was a color that went with that experience, what color could that be? See that color. And know that every time you see that color, right now, it's being associated with this feeling. And your mind and body is now building this association. So every time you visualize that color, the solution can come back to you. Notice how you feel. Make a mental note of this. Slowly bring yourselves back to the here and now, back to your body. Integrate all of your presence and awareness back to your physical body. Bring yourself fully, totally, and completely back. Start coming up at 1, higher up at 2, feeling more alert and awake at 3. Relax at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to the here and now. And that was it. And you can take it in the rest of the information with even more of a clear filter. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I do have some meditations on Spotify for anxiety, for sleep, for pregnancy. Please go into my website and you can get access to all of that. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, let's take questions. Thank you. So let's see what question we have. So the first one, does hypnotherapy involve talking on trance, and how does this differ from regular therapy, and does this target to particular types of people?
So the way that hypnotherapy differs is, yes, we do put you in a trance, similar to what we just did in a therapeutic session, even deeper. And in that trance state, you are not going to be as influenced by your filter of judgment. And you'll be able to go deeper into your emotions that sometimes we try to control, and understand the belief systems that you want to work through. And talk therapy sometimes does not involve that hypnotic trance, and we're talking to someone. Although sometimes through talking itself, you're not going to realize you are in a trance. So typically the hypnotherapy session does put you in a trance, and that is how we differentiate ourselves. Does it target to particular types of people? Anyone who is willing and can give permission can be hypnotized. If you don't want to do it and you're resisting it, you'll be successful at resisting it, and perhaps you won't be hypnotized. Yeah? So that's a question that I get asked a lot, and it's more up to you than it is up to the therapist. In fact, the Association of Hypnotherapy says that the effectiveness of hypnotherapy is 90% the client and 10% the therapist. But we do a lot to make sure that we're good at that 10%. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the end of the question. So is there any mental disorder or problematic situation you think cannot be helped with hypnotherapist, and something too heavy or too complex?
So the kind of things that I would not recommend hypnotherapy for is issues with the brain itself, right? Like something like schizophrenia, bipolar, or anything that alters the chemicals in the brain. And sometimes if people are on antidepressants or highly medicated, then hypnotherapy is not going to be as effective. And I would suggest those kind of people go to a psychiatrist, because what we need is a person that is able to comprehend what we are saying, and that the faculties in the hardware are working.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sonia, just another big round of applause for her.
Thank you so much.
I hope you all feel refreshed, not sleepy after